Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Controlling Your Chaos, where we teach you how to be a mom, a CEO, and do both at the same time without losing your sanity. This week, I am so excited to have a fellow property manager in the hot seat, Amanda, who crushes the 35 corridor. Why don't you give us a little background? Introduce yourself.
So I am Amanda Gloor. I do property management in New Braunfels, the 35 corridor, as you mentioned.
Yes.
Been in real estate probably about 11 years now. Coming up on year 11 in July. So when I started in real estate, I was just like the front desk girl, the admin secretary, whatever we're supposed to call them. And then I transitioned to the broker's assistant. And then that just kind of evolved into me doing all the things. And there was just a lot of turnover in the property manager position. I was like, you know what? Move out of the way. I got this.
I got this. Move out of the way. How'd you end up in real estate? What'd you do before real estate?
Before real estate, I worked at a motorcycle dealership, honestly, in the finance department. So it was quite the change going from motorcycle people to real estate people.
I can only imagine. That is quite the transition. Did you just wake up one day and were like, hey, I'm going to go apply for this job? Or
No, so we're from Northeast Texas originally, and my husband's job was transferring us down here.
Gotcha.
And I had a friend that was working in the real estate office, and she's like, hey, we're hiring. And I was like, why not? We bought our first house, like 20 something years ago. And that transaction just did not go well. So whenever she mentioned it, I was like, I want to see how this is really supposed to work.
I could do this better. That's why I got into real estate. I was getting a loan and it was like a train wreck. And I'm like, I could do this better. And so, I completely understand. Did you get your license right away or did you?
I think I worked in the office for about a year, maybe a year and a half. And then I got my license whenever I transitioned to the broker transaction coordinator.
Gotcha.
Because I was able to do more. And then just kind of was learning. Yeah.
And I know we talked previously, your husband traveled a lot and you guys have a 18-year-old now, right? Or no, 17.
16.
16. That's right. He's a little bit younger than me. And so he would have been 5 when you decided to get into this. And so tell me how you kind of navigated the challenges of having a little one at home, being alone a lot during the work week with your husband traveling and everything else.
It was a lot to balance because we had just moved down here, so I didn't have any family. Still making friends, still finding my place down here in Central Texas. And he was about 5. He was starting kindergarten, and I just remember it being a lot of chaos, having to figure out how to balance everything. Because I was the only one. If you got sick at school, here comes mom to the rescue. And a lot of times he would come to work with me. Sleep under my desk. If he was sick, I'd close my door. Y'all don't come in here. Got a sick kid, but I've got real estate to do also. So he grew up under my desk.
Does he think he wants to go into real estate?
It's funny you say that. They are picking out their classes for junior year. He brought it home.
Wow.
And he had principles of business on there and real estate. And I was like, all right, kid. Like, what are you doing or not? These are great courses for life because you're going to be buying real estate at some point.
Oh, for sure. Vivian's taking that principles of business math. And I kind of joke with her. I was like, well, that seems like an easy course, Vivian. And then the other day she was taking a test at home and she's like, well, can you help me? And some of these questions, I was like, okay, so tell me, your son in high school, is he thinking about taking the real estate all these years of hanging out under mom's desk? Is he thinking real estate's what he wants to go into now?
Yeah, he hasn't really said for sure what he wants to do, but he did just bring home his course selection for junior year. And I was pleasantly surprised to see principles of business and real estate on there. So, I told you, either way, you're going to need some real estate knowledge because you're going to be buying and selling at some point in your life. So, hopefully that he does go into real estate because it's been wonderful for him.
Well, I think that where I get frustrated with school and technology, like the balance, everybody's like, oh, technology's going to take over. And it's like, I always say in real estate, I think there are aspects of our business that technology will. But to teach young people in high school how to balance a checkbook, how to run a business, the basics of how to buy a home. To your point earlier, like when you bought it, it was a train wreck.
It was a train wreck.
If you had known just a little bit, it probably would have helped move you forward. So for them to be able to gain that basic knowledge, although I keep saying balance a checkbook, and Vivian's like, what's a checkbook, Mom? And so I keep trying to remind myself, okay, this generation doesn't understand life before Wi-Fi, and they don't understand what a checkbook looks like and things. So, one of the reasons why I just love chatting with you is you run a team like I do. And I think there for me, I didn't go to college, so there was no like playbook of as the business grows. Because you started, and how many doors did you have?
87 is when I took over.
And now you're pushing 400. You're on the trajectory for that this year.
Yes, we're good.
I never dreamed like what it looked like running a team. And so tell me how you've navigated that with being a mom, running a business. I mean, you're running a business, even though you've got a broker and everything else. I know you tell me all the time he's empowered you to do everything day to day.
Yeah.
How are you, like, give us some tips and tools of things you've learned and or things that, you wish you had done before you started this?
The best thing that I did was hire team members that I could trust, that I could delegate to. I'm the worst about that. I'm like, I know how to do this. I'm going to do it. I can do it quicker. I can do it better. But the truth of the matter is there's only one Amanda. And so, I hired some great team members that I could delegate to. It was hard to turn loose of that control factor, but whenever they show me they could do everything, now I'm going to them like, how do we do this process?
Yeah.
What do you do? Show me what you do. So it's been great. And adding these team members and delegating has given me more time to put boundaries on what I actually do, which allows me to be a mom. And he doesn't have to come to work with me. Well, obviously he's 16, but we get to enjoy our time. Like he's in FFA and all the school stuff. So now I get to enjoy my time more than I did when he was younger.
One of the things when we were interviewing Jennifer a couple weeks ago, she talked about when she's onboarding, she's gone to like this video process. She kind of gives them a mini project and has them do a 5-minute video. And she feels like she can trust based off of that or have a rapport with them, knowing whether or not they showed up for that. How do you kind of sniff out trust? Like, how do you like, oh, this is somebody I feel like is going to be a good team member?
We go through an employment agency is where some of my employees come from. Most of all the good ones have come from this employment agency. They do a really good job of vetting them for me. But whenever I'm actually interviewing them, I really pay attention to kind of their lingo. In real estate, we have our own lingos, like, make ready, turnover, and, all this stuff. So if they can pick up on that, I'm like, okay, they know ball.
Yeah.
I think you say they know ball. And so it's, and once they come on board, just giving them delegating task until they show me that they know what they're doing. And it's been great.
That's awesome. Finding people I think you can trust where you delegate and then walk away and know that it may not be the way you have built the bridge, but the bridge was built and cars are crossing.
Yes. Yes. That is what I've learned. Like we're getting where we need to go. It's not the way I would have went, but hey, you got us there and we're legal and nobody's house is burned down. So we're doing it.
How do you, because one of the things I talk about all the time in real estate is it is a 24/7 business, especially like with what we do. It's not even, buyer seller, the title company closes at 5 or the loans closes. This is the water heaters flooding the house at 2 a.m. So tell me how you kind of created some boundaries or some systems that you've been able to be like, yeah, I'm with my son on an FAA trip. Oh, I always butcher that. FAA, right? FFA. Thank you. He's not flying planes. How you have been able to delegate and or come up with systems where you're like, hey, when I'm with my son, I'm present. And then when an emergency truly happens, I'm also ready, to tackle that with the business.
Whenever I first started, the tenants were in the habit of calling for everything. Everything was an emergency and they would call and call and call. So it might sound terrible, but we just kind of quit answering the phones and told them, put it through the portal. And so after several years of training these tenants to put it through the portal, that's how we are able to determine what's actually an emergency because tenants say everything's an emergency. And so with my management software, I have the app on my phone and I can see what's coming through and if it's an actual emergency. And then I have a maintenance coordinator. And so he's watching those too. And if he can't get to it, then that's when I handle it. So it does allow me to be far more present by training them to go through the portal. We try to get everybody to communicate in writing instead of calling.
Yeah. No, I think that's something that for me over the years, we had a answering service that doctors use, right? So we were doing it that way. And we were getting charged per emergency call. And I get some bills that are like $1,500 a month. And I'm like, I looked through the log and like, your light bulb out your stove is not an emergency to call for. And so it is definitely interesting. And I had to learn like nothing can't wait. If your house is on fire, you need to call 911 anyway, right? Yeah. I'm not. And so I had somebody call last night and Gabby was dancing and I'm like, I'll call you after your performance. Like, I'm not going to step out anymore and those things that I think you learn over time. And so tell me, you're obviously been this 11 years. Where do you see real estate going over the next decade with between AI and everything else? How much? And I know you're more definitely in a niche market, but that area has grown leaps and bounds in the last 10 years. So how do you see New Braunfels, the 35 corridor, and technology all intersecting in the next 10 years?
It's definitely like you said, that market it's exploding over there, and it's now pushing out away from New Braunfels because it's New Braunfels has quite a bit of development going on. So I do see it expanding into other areas. As far as technology, I think it's only going to boost what we do. It's going to help us. It's going to maybe save us some time. I don't want it to ever take over or replace a human person, but I think it's going to speed up our processes. Obviously, we have to put some rings on it, put some boundaries. Still have to have a human watching it because it is, AI. It's a computer. You still have to double check what it's doing. But I think it is going to be a huge time saver. I know I already used some of it in my model, and it's amazing at writing an email whenever I don't have the kindest words or the best response.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, Gemini has become my new friend when I'm just like, and I'm like, okay, oh, that's a much nice, healthier response, or I'll take a response from a chat GPT and things like that and just kind of then make it my own. But it's definitely, to your point, has to be, watched. Although my chat had a little bit of sass with me the other day. It was like, Cortney, I've answered this question for you before. And I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep asking it. Maybe get a different answer from you this time around. So I'm sure some of our viewers who are small business owners would love that kind of growth, right? So not necessarily specific to how you guys have done it in real estate, but tell us, like, what are some tips and tools that you've learned that, hey, this is how we were able to grow as a business, both marketing and structurally, right? Because I remember when I first got into it, we went from like 20 to 400 doors and our systems weren't there. So what would you give people who are, maybe doing Mary Kay or selling, this is not Etsy, things that you've done to help grow the business, and then systems that you've done that have helped you guys have structure?
Yeah, absolutely. Our brokerage are huge Buffinians. I think you're
Yes. I mean, I
Buffini
love
right now.
the beef. Yes.
So we work by referral. It's organic. I'm not running Google Ads or nothing like that. I'm out there shaking hands, networking with realtors. That's usually one of my biggest sources of referrals from other realtors. But also kind of doing what you say you're going to do. You can get all the referrals in the world, but if you don't deliver on what you say you're going to do, don't overpromise what you say you're going to do. What was that in the question?
So tell our viewers, you grew leaps and bounds the business. What are some tips and tricks that you use to not only market the business and grow it, but then also once you brought the business in, what systems, whether they be on the computer or pen and paper, what you use to help manage that growth?
Yeah. So our brokerage, we are huge Buffinians, which I know you guys too.
Love me some Buff Daddy.
Yes. So what basically that is, you work by referral. Everything that I do is pretty much organic. I'm not paying for Google Ads or anything like that. I'm out networking with realtors and just calling on them, loving on them, on my sphere of influence, all of that. But it doesn't stop there. You have to deliver on what you say you're going to do. You have to do what you say you're going to do. You have to answer your phone. You have to come through like you're supposed to. And then what I did learn was, at 87 doors, the processes that work at 87 doors, they don't work at 150. The processes at 150 don't work at 300. So it's ever changing. But what I will say is, whenever you're kind of overloaded, it brings out what the stress points in your systems are. So me and my team, we stay flexible. Like, hey, we tried this, that didn't work. This could be better. Stuff like that. The systems that we put in place are just workflows. Everything is done the same. Every property is treated the same. Every lease is written just as close as it can be to the same.
Yeah.
And everything just runs through the process. And that's how we stay on top of everything. Try not to drop too many balls.
I would love to kind of take a deep dive here, because one of the things I struggle with is when you're busy doing the business, it is so hard to work on workflows, because it's like I'm crisis managing or doing all this stuff all day long. And it's like, I know if I would take a step back and clarify the process or the system or set better expectations, I would save myself hours. Mm-hmm. How do you say, hard stop, this is not working, we need to refine this? Or do you just kind of time block like once a week where you're like, team, what's working or not? Or just kind of as things crop up, you're like, let's stop, pivot, figure out a solution, and then move this way forward?
What we typically do, we have a management meeting about once a month. We don't meet during peak season. There's no time for that.
Yeah.
But what we typically do is when we're gearing up for peak season, like, hey guys, this is what happened last year. This is what we need to fix. And after peak season, we all sit down and we're like, that worked really well. That didn't work at all. Let's never do this again. Or we can do this better, stuff like that. So it's we meet monthly and we are just honest with ourselves. Like, hey, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just constantly refining the processes and figuring out, hey, we could do that at 100 doors, but we can no longer do that at, for example, we used to do quarterly inspections.
Ah, yes, I remember those too.
Nope, that doesn't
That
work.
doesn't work. Yeah.
No, so we've gone to annual inspections, but the truth of the matter is when we were doing quarterly, not much was changing. Like, the amount of laundry the tenant had in their dirty clothes hamper is about the only difference you find in quarterly inspection.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. I remember when I first started, I was like, we're going to be there. We'll do a monthly drive-by and everything else. And it was like, it was overkill 95% of the time. If a tenant's causing damage, they're causing damage, whether you're there, once a month or once a year is the reality of things. And so now I definitely agree that watching as the systems needed to change. And so that's always been something. And I always tell people if I could tell my younger self, I would have worked by referral. I mean, I got in Buffini 20. They actually told me the other day I reached my 20-year milestone in Buffini. And so, one of the things that you talked about a little bit ago that I think is very different for us than most other people is we get business from our competitors, right? We're all agents at the end of the day, but either people are at a brokerage that doesn't allow property management. People don't want to do property management because they just are like, what? And so tell me how you honor those relationships and help create boundaries where you're literally getting business from your competitor. I mean, it's no different than if you had an eyelash business and you're referring people to another person that does it. I'm always fascinated how we build those relationships and there is no, crossing the boundaries and things like that.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised whenever I got into this that it was not, whenever I got into property management, it was not cutthroat. We were not, we're in the same industry, but it has never felt like I'm competing against another. Like I can pick up the phone and call you for, any advice, anything that I need. So to nurture those relationships, I always remind the agents who are sending me business, hey, I only do property management. They're going to come back to you for the real estate side. I'll send them right back to you. I don't want to, don't want to take your business, kind of dance with who bring you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. And then just always taking their phone calls, the agents. Whenever the agents call, hey, I have a seller with this situation, or my client is a landlord who's trying to self-manage and this come up, just always taking their phone call, like giving them value has been the biggest game changer for me.
What would you say to a mom with young kids who is thinking about getting to real estate? Like, what's one thing you wish you knew when you started with a young son doing real estate that looking back?
Man, it would be to enforce boundaries. Real estate is nonstop. It can be 24/7 if you allow it to, but you have to enforce those boundaries. And what it looks like is just not taking those phone calls after hours unless it's an emergency. Not opening your email like in the first thing whenever you wake up in the morning. Not
open your email when you wake up in the morning. Oh, you're my hero.
Started. I started my day with the Bible devotional. It's like it sets the tone for the whole day. It's changed everything. So nope, I don't open my email till I get to work.
That's awesome. Wow,
it's hard to do sometimes.
Are you a morning person? Because one of the things, like doing a bunch of these interviews, I've really heard a lot of the consistency of the mornings. Like as a mom, you either win the morning and you win the day, or if you don't win the morning, it seems like things go a little bit more off track. Do you find that to be the case for you?
Yes, absolutely. My whole family, we're all morning people. Even on the weekends, we're usually up at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I have a routine, like my morning routines, like get up, get coffee, do my devotional, then get ready for work. And get to the office on time and still don't open emails, don't answer text messages, nothing until I get to the office and more in work mode.
Good for you. So you really have that hard boundary of this is where I'm working and this is when I'm home, and switching both of those. And the routine and structure I found, even when things were chaos. I remember I had Gabby like on a Friday and I showed up to work on Monday and people were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I know that I need some form of structure, which means I get up, I get dressed, and I get out the door. even if it's not perfect, it at least was some semblance of getting back to, a rhythm and a routine along the way. And so I know I watch a lot of moms with young kids just struggle. And I'm like, I think if you just put a little bit more structure in your day, had a hard time, you got up, even when you're exhausted, typically you can push through and do all of that. So
Yeah, my son is, he's 16. And so 16 years ago, whenever I had him, we didn't have the family leave act or whatever it is now. And so I went back to work whenever he was 3 weeks old. Because I only had 2 weeks of vacation, then could afford, because we were dirt poor, young kids, then could afford to take a week off. And so I went back to work when he was 3 weeks old. So it was, we had to do it financially, but don't. Unless you're in some kind of people, don't to do that, because it was very much, it was really hard. But we've had to put him on a schedule and a structure. At 3 weeks old, we're like trying to sleep train and eat train and all of the things at 3 weeks because mom's got to go to work.
Oh, no. I remember driving to work when Vivian was like 3 months old and I hadn't had a full night's sleep, in however long, right? Seeing towards the end of the pregnancy, you're not sleeping well. And I remember shaking, thinking like, I'm more dangerous than a drunk driver right now, like on the road, because I am so tired right now. So I do think that there is a huge element of trying to kind of that balance. And I was super blessed. Vivian was like 18 months. And I worked from home with her. And I remember taking her to a listing appointment, a little sling, and people didn't even realize she was a baby in there because she was such a good baby. And so it worked out. But yeah, that balance is very hard. And it's interesting. The older my kids have gotten, the better I've gotten about the boundary. And so like last night, Vivian ran track and Gabby had a dance. And Gabby was like, thanks, Mom, for being here and being present the whole time. And I was like, at 12, she recognizes like the things I try to do to physically be there and be present in those moments. And then that means that I get up at 5 in order to get in front of my day and do those things and structures. So
they do notice. We went on a vacation when he was about 5 or 6. We went to Disney World, and he remembers Mom working in the line. So
yeah, no, they remember. Even when you think they're not watching, they're watching.
Yes. Don't be that mom.
Don't be that mom.
Be present.
One of the things we ask everybody is tell us what you're reading right now or what you're enjoying, what you feel like is a good thing you're putting in. Obviously, I know you're reading the Bible. Any like Bible study you're doing right now or any books that you're reading on top of that?
We are currently in the book of Matthew. We're studying the book of Matthew, do a weekly Bible with my best friend and some other people. Other than that, what I'm enjoying is Paradise. Season 2 of Paradise just dropped.
What is that?
It's a maybe Hulu. I don't know. It's on one of the streaming services, but it's about a volcano that erupts and causes a big tsunami, and the world is destroyed, and they make an underground bunker city.
Oh, wow.
It is pretty cool.
Is it just like kind of like you just use it to turn it off? Like just kind of enjoy it?
Yes. That's how I unwind. I can sit in my bed and just space out.
It's like how I do Chicago. I watch the Chicago Med, PD, and Fire, and I'm like, it's just my version of just completely tuning the world out and just having some downtime and breathing space and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to get away from doom scrolling. I'm the worst. I will doom scroll until I'm like numb. I'm numb. I'm like, oh, this isn't healthy.
Yeah.
I do this.
I used to fall down like the Pinterest vortex where I would like get online and the next thing I know, I'd have like a birthday party planned for a birthday that never, 5 years out. And I'm like, I don't think we need this many things for a birthday party along the way and all of that. So one last question to you. Tell us if you could give advice to anyone along the way about being a property manager or being in real estate. Besides, I know you've obviously hit on the boundary and the structure. What would something that you really think that, hey, this is something that's important? And then I would love to hear, I know we just talked a little bit ago that you're thinking about trying to get to 400 doors, but tell me, what do you think is next for you and your family and all that fun stuff?
Someone think that getting into real estate, just answer your phone. Answer your
It seems simple, but
does.
it's true.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like it's an easy concept, but it's that's one of the biggest things I hear whenever I talk to people who've been shopping, property management or whatever. They're like, "Oh, you're a real human. Oh, you answered your phone." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's what I do." So just answer your phone. Have amazing communication skills. Whatever you do. And then what's on the horizon for me? Yeah, I want to head towards 400 doors. Before I do that, I want to refine all of my processes because what was working at 300 doors is not going to work at 400 doors. And I want to get ahead of the curve this time instead of trying to fine tune the processes to what did work. I want to want to be proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, get in front of them. Well, it sounds like you have a great team in place, and definitely, I think the open communication that you guys have, talking to other CEOs and people that run offices, it's like the more the team works as a team, whether it's the trust factor or whether it's the goal in the project, all I consistently hear is that everybody's open to the feedback and everybody wants to work towards that common goal. And so I've been told multiple times, if the team doesn't know where you're going, they're not going to be able to achieve the goal because they don't know, what the plan is.
That's exactly right. We all work in office, and my team is right there around me. And before I make any changes, before we create any new positions, anything like that, I bring them in. Hey guys, this is what I'm feeling. What are you feeling? What do we need? What are we missing? And I listen to their feedback, and I think they feel very valued and appreciate that they are part of the team.
Yeah, no, they feel very heard, which as a manager is always a tough balance of like, I want to hear you out, but I also know I've got a budget I've got to answer for, and I've got to find that, employee or that system that will work for everybody. And so I think that's super valuable is to include the team because if they feel like they're a part of the process. Well, thanks, Amanda, for coming down the 35 corridor and hanging out with us this afternoon. And I appreciate your time. And I tell you all the time, I'm like, you are one of my favorite people because you're just like me. You just want to go and do and are an open book, which I appreciate. I think overall, our industry definitely has that vibe. And I definitely see like the turn of more women in property management and all of that. But some of my favorite people in property management are women that are just willing to help each other out and figure it out. And I know we both know younger PMs with little kids, and we're like, if we could just tell you what we knew back then. I feel like that old lady now. I'm like, if I could tell you what I knew back then. But I appreciate your time, and we hope to see everybody on the next episode of Controlling Your Chaos. Y'all have a great afternoon.